Hello, Mr. Ian Paice. Welcome
Hello,
to Virgin
Sylvia.
Radio.
Thank you so much. Good to be
How are
here.
you? I'm so excited. I'm very honored because I don't know if you can remember, but we had a concert together almost 1 year ago in Austria. And for me, it was an incredible night. So I'm really happy to see you again.
1 year gone so fast, yeah?
Yeah,
From the
really,
concert,
really.
yeah,
How
yeah,
many
yeah.
things has happened? Yeah.
A different world from then, yeah.
Absolutely. First of all,
Yeah.
how are you? I mean, we have lived and we are still living a really surreal and dramatic moment. How do you spend your time during the lockdown?
Well, for me, it was a lot easier than for people living in cities. I live in the country.
Yeah.
I have a nice house with a big garden, so I could wander around and still feel somewhat normal. It just got very boring. Nothing to do. I mean, it's nice to go down the pub and have a drink with your friends. It's nice to go to a restaurant and have a look. You couldn't do any of those things like everybody else.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But for people living in cities, it must have been hell. And I do feel for them because
you had the
their life
nature.
basically
Yeah, you
stopped.
had the nature and a good surround. Yeah. I've listened to your new album, the Deep Purple's 21st album, Whoosh. And it's incredible because it seemed to be talking about the pandemic, but I know that you wrote it before the COVID emergency. This album covered a lot of important topics. Why in 2020 is so important for you to speak up about some issues like this?
Well, you have to remember that the lyrical content of the record is really, on this record, is basically down to Ian Gillan. We provided him with some pieces of music which inspired emotions in him.
Yeah.
Obviously, to write about things that are happening to us all in this world at this time. Whether it be dirty air, or throwing rubbish in the ocean, or burying plastic under the soil so nobody sees it.
Yeah.
We're doing lots of things wrong. And over the years, Ian has occasionally come up with a social comment song. He's not saying you must do this and you mustn't do that, because that's pointless. If I tell you you cannot go to the pub, you'll go to the pub.
Of course, this is true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you can influence people to just think about what we're all dealing with, maybe it can make a little change. Because these problems, we can fix them. They don't have to be this way. We don't have to have dirty air. We have the technology to clean it up. We don't have to throw all this stuff in the ocean, which will come back and kill us. Maybe not us, but our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. They'll suffer for this. And Ian obviously saw all these things, and it's not. We're talking about, as you said, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
We've known about the things we're doing wrong in the world for the last 20 years. It's been told to us by the news every day, and we still don't seem to be doing much about it. Everybody goes buy an electric car. It's a great idea. How do you produce the electricity? Unless you can produce it by natural means, and you have to produce it by artificial means. We're just still burning oil and coal and stuff.
Absolutely cool that rock and roll can speak about this.
Well, we can hopefully make people just think about it.
Yeah.
And even if it's something simple, like you're driving down the autostrada and you don't throw your paper out the window, you take it home with you.
Okay.
Just little things can make a change. But the things we need to change, that's down to governments. But they can do it if they want to do it. And it's very strange, because these things that Ian was writing about, it all comes full circle to when COVID hit us. Now, if you take the track A Man Alive, well, it's a premise where there are no people left, And our society is a very fragile thing. We've seen
Absolutely.
what an invisible little enemy, a little virus, can do to our society.
And everything has changed. Yeah. Incredible.
And it's not that we've lost that many people. I mean, you see a numbers, it's 600,000 or something around the world. There are nearly 8 billion of us. As a percentage, you can't even imagine how small that is. But we have to learn to live with viruses. We found no way to really beat new viruses. We have to learn to, our bodies have to learn how to fight it. And some people will, and some people won't. But you cannot just stop society. It's impossible. You know, we've got, looks like maybe a second wave coming now. So what happens if we have a 10th wave in 2 years' time? You're gonna stop society for 2 years? It's impossible. They have to start accepting the fact that it's here and we have to learn to live with it or die with it. That's,
okay, we hope live.
Yeah. And a man alive sort of alludes to the fact that, hey, what's that? It's a man alive. How strange is that? But the other guys are gone, you know. So, and I don't want to use the word good timing because there's nothing good about it, but the timing is extraordinary.
Absolutely extraordinary. You and your band have been together since a very long time. Maybe this is a trivial question. I don't know, is a weird question.
No,
but
be trivial, it's okay.
Okay. All we know that relationships need determination, need to be focused on, to remain solid and fertile. What is the secret, the sacred graal for Deep Purple family?
Regardless of the comings and goings and the change in lineup, I believe the spirit of the band, but not always the music, has stayed true. So we've always tried to have the best players we could get, and we've always tried to create interesting music. Sometimes not the music the fans expected, or maybe sometimes they didn't want to. But things have to move forward. They have to change, they have to evolve. It would be pointless trying to make Son of Highway Star again. Highway Star is it. It's made its statement. Everything will be gauged against that. So you can't try to make the same record all the time. You have to progress as you progress in your life. The things that were important to me when I was 22 years old were very, very simple. Like all young men, it's very, very simple. As you get older, more things become important. And your view of the world changes, and the way you hone your craft, the way you play your music, that changes too. You know? I
know that you started in a sort of big band with your father, right? When you
Well, it was a little band, but it was not rock and roll. It was not rock and roll.
What do you remember about that moment of your life? I think it's so poetic. It's a really cool photograph.
Well, it wasn't exciting, but it was very rewarding.
Wasn't?
No, playing waltzes for people who are full of food and wine.
Okay.
But I had fun with him. Of course, I had fun. It was on a Saturday night when I was 15 years old. What would I do? I'd sit at home watching television.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could go with my dad, be treated like a grown-up, an adult, and at the end of the night, he gave me some money.
Okay.
That was cool. I mean, I earned the same amount of money with my dad as I did for 3 days at my job at work.
Wonderful.
For 3 hours work.
Okay. No bad.
This means I had a little bit of money in my pocket that my friends didn't have.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Earlier, I told you that for me, play with you, of course, was incredible in my really small career. But for me, it was an important event.
We had a good night.
A good night. What was your event, your moment like a musician? Maybe when you start like a musician, your life like a musician, the moment, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, obviously, joining with John and Richie and seeing the different levels of musicianship that were possible, that was very exciting. But I think it was when Ian and Roger joined in the end of '69 that we started to, we created In Rock, and we started to tour that record. But we were doing a show up in Scotland, in Glasgow. And it wasn't a big place. I think it held 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. But there were 2,000 people in there. But there were like 16,000 people blocking the main street of Glasgow because they couldn't get in. They were trying to get in and they couldn't. So, we realized that what was happening was bigger than we could ever have thought and beyond our control.
My God, wonderful.
And all of a sudden, something goes off and you go, this is now getting serious. This is something we have to take care of.
Yeah. And you made it.
Not all of us did take care of it, but some of us did. And that moment of realization that whatever we were doing for that generation of music fans was connecting with them. And that was eye-open time.
Yeah. Come back to today. Yeah. We are coming out of the pandemic. What does the future looks like for the band now? You are planning to schedule your tour for 2020. I know you are going to coming back to Italy in 2020.
Everything we had for this year, we had to cancel.
Yeah,
like the rest of the industry. The promoters couldn't take the chances. The governments wouldn't let people come together, so it had to stop. We've been very lucky. I think we've kept about 95% of the shows we had for this year.
Okay, wow.
For next year.
Perfect.
So, assuming that the world gets sorted out in the next 9-10 months, we will be doing the same shows we should have done this year. But next year is going to be crazy. Because
it will be full of events.
Well, because people who were not going to tour this year and were going to tour next year now have to compete with the people who were going to tour this year. Everything is going to come together. So the fans have to start making big decisions.
Yeah. What about Italian fans? What about Italian audience?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah,
we are.
But it's good crazy,
We really love rock and roll.
But
like a genre.
I don't know what it is. The Italians, South Americans, the sort of, shall we say, the hotter countries.
Yeah.
The audiences are wonderfully crazy,
Okay, great.
In Northern Europe, Germany is fantastic in a different way.
Absolutely.
And France is becoming very good. But I think it's the fact that most of the concerts when you play in Southern Europe, it tends to be the summer, because that's when the big places are available. And I think the temperature of the world there just changes the whole aspect of it. Every day we've got a blue sky, everybody's happy, and it's just different, And we always have a great deal of fun there. Yeah. Okay. And of course, when we're not working, you've got all that food, all that wine, and we enjoy that too.
Mwah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Deep Purple is such a pioneer band in rock and roll, with so many new bands in 2020. I mean, there are any that you enjoy and you see that can have a long career?
I don't know much about what's going on at the moment because unless you are working. Most of the radio stations don't play anything that we would be interested in.
Really?
Most of them playing top 10 hip hop and girl and boy bands, none of which is any interest to me at all.
Okay.
There was a time when my kids were younger, they'd bring me a CD and say, Dad, check these guys.
My daughter too. Yes, I know what you say.
Yeah. But that was 20 years ago now. My problem is now that I think rock and roll, and I have no worry about it continuing because I believe that it's safe enough. But I think the virtuosity that my generation used in rock and roll, the Jeff Becks, the Jimi Hendrixes, the Ritchie Blackmores,
Jimi Hendrix,
the Claptons, Ginger Bakers, the Mitch Mitchells, the Cozy Powells. These are all great players, and the music they played required them to be great players. The music's being created now doesn't require you to be good.
Yeah,
it doesn't. You can have a young band and they've got two guitarists, but they're two rhythm guitarists. Yeah. They're not lead guitarists. They can't do it.
It's a different approach.
Well, the music they're playing doesn't require that. You know, it's just big sound, big chords, but there's no solos and there's no virtuosos. I mean, there
Maybe
are
more
a few.
image than a study. I don't know. It's more important to be cool and not to be a musician, right?
Yeah, it is. But it's where we're at in the world. I mean, there are some great players that come up in the last 10 years. They take Joe Bonamassa. I mean, fabulous guitarists, you know. So there are another generation of musicians who have the quality and, you know, superb. But they are few and far between now. But if you hear a really good rock and roll record, new one, by a band you never heard before, I reckon 9 times out of 10, what you heard on the record has got very, very little to do with the people whose picture is there. The way you can record now, you don't actually have to be very good.
It's true. You can do everything with the technologies, Yeah,
digital recording and computers. If you cannot sing in tune, the computer makes you sing in tune.
You made with one track in the past, no? Sometimes all together in one take.
Yeah, well, we try and do that to this day.
Really?
There's things that happen when you play together. The backing track, and
the backing track. So drums and bass.
Well, no, the four instrument. Yeah.
Okay.
There are things that happen when you are working together and you can see each other, and just a little movement can make you do something different. And it's that immediacy, and it only happens once. If you try and do it the second time, you are now planning it. You are now waiting for it, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
So working together, you get those little moments of magic, which is human. It's organic. It's
the
real.
Energy.
Yeah. But if you keep on doing something till it's perfect, it will be perfect, but no good. It'll be dead. It'll be soulless. It'll be like 5 robots in there.
Well, perfection is not so good necessarily. So
no,
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. It needs that human connection. It needs the fact that you did something and I reacted to it just once, because you can't do it again, you know.
Okay.
And you can only do that if you're working together. And I understand there are some pieces of music and some ways of creating recorded music where one at a time gives you the end result, and it's great.
Okay.
But if you're trying to capture a performance of real musicians playing together, then you have to do it together. There's no two ways. You cannot cheat it. You either say, okay, this is created as a studio vehicle. I go in on a Wednesday, you go in on a Thursday. You're in Los Angeles, you send me the file. What?
No.
You know, or you can go, we're in the studio together. We're a band. We'll make something which is ours, and not something that could be anybody's.
This is magic. Yeah, of course. I read an article where you said that you don't want to be a nostalgic band, and I think that with Whoosh, you prove this. And tell me if I'm wrong. You are able to reach your older fans, but also new generation that doesn't know the entire discography of Deep Purple, isn't it?
Well, we hope so. You know, but all you can do is try and let your music evolve. Let it progress. You know, it's as simple as that. And we've always been blessed with really good musicians in the band, you know, and good players want to do new things. They don't want to just stay doing the old things. It's not that it gets boring, but you want to do something else. You want to add something to it. You don't take away, you just want to add things to it. And if you don't try and create new music, and it doesn't matter that it might not have the same success as those old records. I don't think anything can be looked at the same way anymore. But people don't buy records the same way. You know?
Right.
Yeah, you know. Sometimes they don't buy a record at all. They just download it on their phone.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know, so you, as a musician who thinks and wants to keep moving forward, you have to create new things.
I'm curious. You still study your instrument, the drum. I suppose in your studio you you take your time to study the instrument?
No, I don't. It's not study the way you would think. Not study the way you think.
Okay.
I never practiced the way you would think of practice, because I was always working. You know, at 17 years old, I was a professional musician, working 6-7 days a week, and then traveling between. You know, I learned from watching other drummers and from listening to records and watching the TV and trying to take the bits that I thought I could use and make mine.
And you create your language.
Well, you do. You create your own style. You create something which is yours. We have a situation now with some great young players. I mean, drummers.
What is the peculiarity of Ian Paice style at the drum for you? One element, one thing.
Yeah, it's a cross between rock and roll and big band. You know, everything I do has to have a swing in it, even if it's a straight 8 thing. In my head, I've got a bounce going on like this, and that influences how you play it. I have no choice in this. It's not something I think that's the way it has to be for me.
It's the DNA.
Yeah.
Your DNA.
When I was this big, you know, little kid, all I heard was my father's music, and that was everything. Da 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 da. It was swinging. So when I start to play drums, sometimes I have to stop myself doing this. You know, I have to make it straight. But in the back of the head, it's still going da 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 da. So that's the difference, I think. I think most rock players come from a position of being a rock player. They listen to rock music, they start to play drums, they play rock music.
Okay.
I didn't. I was hearing 1930s, 40s, and early 50s jazz music because we had no rock and roll radio when I was growing up. We had an hour, 2 hours a week on a Saturday morning, and they just played the top 10 singles and a couple of live tracks. So those influences, once they go in, they have to come out.
Naturally. Hey, I miss you. Eccoti. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
I have my last question for you.
Okay. Sure.
What album would you suggest to a young guy that won't display the most about Deep Purple, the album that display the most about Deep Purple? I think it's impossible for you to answer. I don't know. It's very hard.
No, I think without wanting to go back that far, I think they have to see how Deep Purple evolved so quickly when Ian and Roger joined, and they'd have to listen to Made in Japan.
Okay.
Just because it is a truthful audio document of a great rock and roll band playing brilliantly. And even if they don't like the music, they don't understand the emotion of what they hear.
Okay.
And seeing what is possible.
Mr. Ian Paice, for me, today it's a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your time, for your words, and I hope really to see you again vis-a-vis in person.
I'm sure we will, sweetheart. You take care, stay safe, and
you too.
Sometime
Absolutely.
next year.
Okay,
baby.
Thank you so much.
Bye, sweetheart.
Hi.
Virgin Radio.